Alright, so let's see here. What can we do? Let's try and get some of the stuff working. Oh, it's gonna be one of those days. Technology is starting to work. I think that's good? Question mark? Alright, let's get this going. Alright, hey everyone. Alright, so this is probably going to be a quick little short stream. Rather than do video editing and all that stuff, I think I'll just do this live. So, we had a little incident, and yeah, someone won the lottery on Faucet. So I don't know what caused it. All I know is that I woke up one morning and apparently at some point the previous day the server was running, but the network adapter on the machine just kind of said, hey, you unplugged the cable. And I restarted everything, waited for everything to spin up, and it started just repeatedly sending some people stuff, right? So some guy got a bit more than what he paid for, but it's fine. It's fine. I think I figured out what the problem was, and I had to figure out a different way around the way that it was working at that time. Did a bunch of tests, figured out what was causing it from my end, and did a test for myself, and it did it again. It sent me, like, I tried to do, I think I sent 10 ADA, something like that. Yeah, 10 ADA to the faucet, and it said it sent like 20 of whatever, 20 times 8,000 tokens, right? It actually only sent 4 or 5 at the time, maybe 6, something like that. 5, I think it was 5 of that. And I was like, well, why is it repeating the text saying it sent me when it didn't send? And what's the problem here? And yeah, so I didn't quite understand it. And what it kind of came down to, from how I understand it was happening, is there's this little bit that I have on screen here, and the problem is this error code is not what the error is. So the way that Cardano-wallet works is it will not let you send anything if there is a pending outgoing transaction. And it throws this error that there's not enough money in it, and it's saying that it's needing tokens because the transaction technically has gone out and then it's supposed to return the money back or something like that. And so it thinks that there's no currency left in the wallet. I think that's why the error says that, but it's not why the error is saying it. It's because there's a pending transaction. So I had to rewrite the entire thing, and I'm gonna just go from start to finish on the flow of the faucet now. And I have this little error check in here. So if the error is here, I was gonna log something. I'm not gonna see the log probably. And I just kind of decided, we're just gonna check this. We're gonna get rid of this little error here, and I don't care if it errors out because I just know that the transaction is still pending for whatever reason, and it thinks that there isn't a pending transaction, and it doesn't always do it. But if it's trying to send and it fails, it's all I care about. I mean, it's just going to continue sending, and we won't mark it until it sends it completely. So we are going to do this. We're going to go, actually here, we'll just go into process funds here. So the first thing we do is we need to check for new transactions. So checking for new transactions means we're going to query Cardano-wallet, alright? And we're going to get our local database. So this is just our local list of every single transaction that we have. And then we get all the transactions from, I believe it's the last 2 hours or something like that is what it's set to by default. I had it set to like 72 hours earlier because I wanted to make sure that I didn't know exactly when the transactions died. or when the network died and disconnected and stopped doing anything. So I kind of set it to 72 hours, let it run for a couple hours, and I didn't see anything happening, so I put it back to 2 hours. So um, anyway, so we get the new transactions, and then we create a list of all the IDs that we have from our database that we get locally. We create our list so we know what IDs we have. These are all incoming transactions. And then we go through the wallet transactions. Now we go through every single one, and we check to make sure that the transaction list does not include the ID. So if we don't have the ID, we're going to calculate the sender's address and the amount and all that kind of stuff, and we're just going to create a new transaction data. So we're storing the ID, the amount that was sent, amount of ADA, the direction, which is incoming, the sender's address, and the status is set as 0. 0 means it's a new transaction, it hasn't been dealt with. And then we push it to our list, repeat, and then we save that database, and we return, if we've got new transactions, we mark it as true in here, and we return this as true for the check new transactions, because we're going to check and see if we do have a new transaction. We're going to process the queue. If we didn't have any new transactions, we're still going to process the queue. It should do nothing, but then it's going to do a check again, run this whole thing again in 10 seconds. And the reason why I did this queue is because there was a situation where if I canceled the, let's say it did the new transactions and had an error, there would be no new transactions because it recorded it, but there was nothing sending, so it wouldn't actually process the queue. So I had to put this in here for in case of server restarts before it can process the queue, or whatever happens, power goes out, that kind of stuff, internet dies. So we always process the queue once every loop, but if there are no new transactions, we are going to delay. We will immediately check for new transactions as long as there's new transactions, because transactions can take a minute, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes until they could possibly go through, or it really depends on the network at the time. So we do it immediately, and that way, as long as there's nothing there, it'll just eventually hit this, as long as there's no new transactions. So we do this. So let's go through the process to queue. So this is my process queue. I have a pending transactions thing in here. For some reason, the error that was popping up were saying that there was not enough money in there. It was getting triggered, even though this is saying that there is pending, like the wallet, there was a pending transaction. I don't know why. Maybe it's like a timeout issue. I might have to try and narrow that down, but I've got a check here, and then it will do a transaction. It'll just grab a local transaction, blah blah blah, check for a new incoming that has a status of 0, and push that to our new transaction list, and we're just going to process all the transactions. So this is the same as the old system. We do all of our normal stuff. We've got our Axios posting to the wallet to send the amount, and then when it succeeds, it does this. Otherwise, the try will fail when this fails, and it will catch the error. So if it doesn't post, that's when we were getting this not enough money error, is when this was failing. Okay, so that's kind of the catch that we're doing here. Otherwise, I know this works, and it will not mark it as sent because it is errored here and will not mark it as sent yet. So, and then the next loop it does it, right? Now the fun part is that there's transactions that get processed all the time. So this error actually constantly pops up, like every time it loops. It will just constantly query the wallet, and it will always have that error. I just left it like that and just made it not spit out any messages at all, which is why this if else is in here. But basically that's all it is. It errors, but it's not an error that, I mean, without actually diving into what error this is actually generating, trying to capture it, which means I'd have to send 2 transactions and try to do them in a row, just to get, so I could get that pending error to happen, then try and figure out what's going on. It's just not worth the time. This is a fix right now, a hacky fix to make it function at least. And I'm happy with it. I mean, it's been running for 2 days now, and it hasn't had any errors like it was. But I know that if I put the log back in here and restart it, it will just spam that error all the time. So, when there's a transaction pending, anyways. So, anyways, so that's the outcome. It was basically this whole full function here. This is the part that was kind of messing up the transactions when there was 2, like more than 1 in a row that come in. It was that pending causing the wallet post to create the transaction to fail, but this mark as sent was outside of a try catch, and so it was always firing it, and it would just not do anything. Or it would not mark it as sent, but because this was erroring, it wasn't doing anything else. It wasn't marking it as sent. And the way that I was saving my like this function, this mark as sent now, it actually saves every time. And rather than doing multiple reads and writes of databases and stuff like that, I really limited it to once a run that it reads and saves stuff. The only time it saves is when it's either adding the new transactions, which is here, where we add our I was going to try a queue thing, but the when we push the new transaction to the database, that's where it will save all of them here. And the other time that it saves is when it does successfully send one, and it marks it as sent. And that's the only time that we're saving that file. Before, I was like constantly reading the file and saving it and doing stuff. So I think this kind of makes it a little bit more efficient, less read writes to the files. Yeah, I think it's working a lot better than it was. So yeah, that's all I wanted to kind of cover in this video, because I know there's not a lot of videos on how this stuff works, and this is just kind of the way the faucet's working. So once I'm actually happy with the way this is functioning, I'll probably put something out on GitHub and make a video about it and announce it. So make sure you do subscribe so that you don't miss that notification when it does come out. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'm going to try to get some other stuff done today. Not sure exactly what all is left for the faucet side, but the land sales for Pocket Towne are coming along pretty good. So we're almost ready to start that. And I got pretty much all of the map done. It's looking pretty slick, so I like it a lot. So stay tuned for that. Go check us out, pockettowne.io, and hang in the Discord. There is a whitelisting for the land sales, so as long as you have the pocketer role, which is where you have to authorize your wallet that has your dolls and or pocket change on the actual wallet, you can verify there and you'll get into the whitelist channel automatically, so that you will be the ones that can actually purchase from it. So for round 1, and they're heavily discounted for round 1. So anyways, we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.